Hey guys, what's going on? Andrew coming at you. And I thought in this one, it would be really fun to talk about why I came to Sweden. I used to get this question all the time. I have briefly maybe touched on it in a couple different videos, but given that there's such a large number of people who have just discovered my YouTube channel, I thought it was worth revisiting this and talking about my experience, and hopefully it inspires other people to maybe do the same. And I also hope that the audio quality for you guys is much better. My dad used to work in radio, so I hope that I have a little bit more of a radio-sounding voice for you guys, and that it's really pleasant to the ears. When I was in university, I made a friend with a Turkish man named Bezit. We lived together. We had a house. We were 5 guys in total in our home, and we decided to throw a party, and it was a bit of a big party, I will say, and he decided to invite some of the international students. And I remember all these like Norwegian girls came to our house and were saying hi. We had people from Germany. But there's this funny moment where we're sitting outside, or there's like 15 dudes sitting outside the front porch of our house. And someone's like, oh, this is the Norwegian girls' boyfriends, and they're really angry or something. And we were like kind of confused because we were just having a party and they were just standing there. And we all came out of the house thinking like they were angry and like wanted to fight or something. And we looked at them like, hey, what's going on here, guys? Either come in or come out. And it really came down to the fact that this was their like first party ever in college, and they didn't know what the rules were. So they ended up coming inside, and everybody was super chill and really cool. This was a little bit of a intense party, I guess. What I mean by that is we maybe had too many people, a bonfire outside. We just had a great time. It was a great night. Nothing bad, but we had a great time. And that's where I made a really good friend who was a Norwegian girl named Elise. And she was also into music. See, when I was in school, and for those of you that don't know, I'm a musician. And when I would make money in college just playing at bars. It was really fun. I'd play and do some performances. And she was a brilliant musician as well. So we ended up like doing a lot of gigs and stuff together and becoming really good friends. Just for that experience of meeting them, I also really enjoyed playing FIFA when I was in college with my buddies. We would get together, especially my Turkish buddy and I. We would have some very intense, angry matches. If anyone's played FIFA, you know what I mean about how serious you can take it at times. And I got really interested in those countries and the different countries, the different teams, players. I would watch it in real life. And through making these friends and just seeing this, it made me understand how much bigger of a world was out there, and that I never traveled. I had a younger sister go to Australia. I had one of my roommates that I did live with that ended up going to New Zealand for a semester. And it just felt like travel was just something that could really help people. And I thought there was something different from just traveling somewhere for a week and then deciding to start your life somewhere for a week. I've never been someone that likes change, like ever. So I thought it would be interesting to really force myself into an uncomfortable situation where either I would survive or I wasn't going to make it. So I started applying for different jobs since I had this education background. And one of the school I was able to get an interview for here in Sweden, it was actually an American woman who founded the school. And the school was only 2.5 hours away, and I guess that school comes to the U.S. to try to recruit teachers. So I was able to get an interview, and I was super pumped. I got like 3 books about Sweden, so I already knew about like Jantelagen. I knew that you guys switched from the left side of the road to the right in 1967, and just all these weird cultural differences that I thought was really interesting. I go do this interview, and I crush it. And about 2 weeks later, they give me a call. I get this call from a Swedish number, and it's the rector or principal, and she says to me, how would you like to come to Linköping, Sweden? And the thing is, I didn't even know where Linköping was on the map, but I was like, hell yeah, we're doing this. Let's go. So I forced myself to go on this plane, and long story short, it was the worst flight I ever had. Every plane was delayed. My luggage, there was no way my luggage was coming because I had so many places. Everything that could go wrong. It was supposed to be like a 21-hour flight that took me a total of 36 hours, and I still had to take a train from Stockholm to Linköping. Luckily, I met a guy from Australia along the way, and he was really helpful, and he at least gave me a ride to the Stockholm airport and just like helped me buy a ticket, like because at this point I could barely think. I'm on this train, we're riding, and the 2 things I'll never forget at my first impressions of Sweden being here was that I thought it was cool that when you went through the tunnels on the train that like your ears popped for a second, similar to a plane. I didn't know that was a thing, or at least it did for me. And 2, as I was looking out there, I saw a moose. And I had never seen a moose before, but to this day, I used to think maybe I was just super jet lagged, but like, no, I totally saw a moose. So that was super cool and super fascinating. I finally get to link shipping, and the story or the journey really begins. And I was started working at the school. I didn't have a personal number yet. For you that aren't Swedish, you know, or for everybody, I mean, you can't do anything without a personal number. I didn't have a cell phone. It made me think, it reminded me of like the 1980s, like what people went through, because I would make friends with people, but I didn't have a cell phone yet because I couldn't get a cell phone because I didn't have a personal number. But at least I had an apartment. And one of the funny things about this, the most funny story was I kept going to a coffee house to use the internet so that I could communicate with my family, because otherwise I didn't have internet at home. And when I finally got my personal number set up, I contacted the internet company for the first time, and I was like, hey, I need internet. And I was super happy and excited to finally get internet. And that's when they informed me that internet was included in my rent, and all I needed to do was just plug into the wall, and I was good to go. I just remember feeling so silly about that. And I ended up just embracing everything about the Swedish culture. Like, I think my third or fourth week here, I kind of had like a girlfriend, but not, I mean, I don't know if we were really girlfriend, but we were dating, and that ended up not working out. And one of the adjustments I went through here in Sweden is that it's really difficult to make friends. See, I could go out, I was younger, I was 25, so I could go out to a bar or a pub, and people would be like super interested to talk to me, and why I was here, but maybe not really me or like my personality, or just wanting to talk about something random. So it takes a really long time to make friends. And that girl and I didn't work out. And I remember walking home one night because I didn't have any friends yet. Again, I went to a bar to just try to meet people. And what you don't realize, which I'll say here, is in Sweden, people don't go to the bar to meet new people like you would in the US. They go to the bar with their friends to have like a private party and not talk to anyone else. It's a complete difference. Like, yeah, you can meet other people. But I remember going home and just feeling so lonely and starting to second guess all my opinions. I never felt that alone before, and I don't know if I ever will again. It was a true challenging moment. However, what I'll say is I eventually met a friend at another bar and started hanging out with these guys outside of not just the bar, but like we started hanging out at their house and stuff together. They were all Swedish guys, and it was the first time I just chilled and hung out with people, and like they weren't asking me like why I came to Sweden. They were just actually just hanging out and chilling with me. And then I was in. Like then I could go and to other parties. I was making friends with other people, and it just opened up everything to me, and I didn't feel so alone anymore. But I always went through these little struggles. There were times, I have to say too, when I moved to another country, where I have my own issues, I have my own problems, right? You think when you go away somewhere, maybe you can run away from all of that. But no, I still had things I needed to address about my personality, myself, my mental health. And you especially have to take care of your mental health when you're abroad. I will say that for sure. I had to deal with those issues, and in a way, it really helped me grow up. You know, one thing that I'm so thankful for here in Sweden is like 2009 happened, and it was hard to get a teaching job in the U.S. teaching music, whereas in Sweden it was real. They needed so many teachers, and now that's changing in the U.S. Now they need so many teachers as well. It was just, I guess Sweden was like 10 years ahead of where the U.S. was as far as having a teacher shortage. So anyways, I dealt with my own mental health. And I really started to grow. The thing about it is, if I would have stayed in the U.S., I can't tell you how many people I know, they got stuck in America, they couldn't get a job because of 2009, or they got a back injury, and there's an Oprah prescribing prescription drugs in the U.S., and let's just say I've lost about 8 or 9 people from my high school class from this, and people just got stuck. And there was something about coming here and excelling and not being in that environment where I didn't get stuck. I was able to just move forward with my life, basically. And it was actually 4 years ago to today that I actually decided to start my own YouTube channel. And it's really interesting because there's been many times I was angry about stuff in Sweden or happy, and it's hard to explain. It's like I'm not even really angry about anything in Sweden. But when you're going through these cultural changes and you're changing as well, you go through stages where like you love everything, then suddenly you hate everything, and then you learn to accept everything, and then you reach a point where you just feel like you're actually a part of the society and culture. And for me, That probably took, I don't know, 4 years, if you will, but it was a very long process. I think one of the most interesting things that you guys can realize over time as well is like how much I've changed. For those of you that follow me, like 4 years ago, I decided to make this YouTube channel. And it was after I had lived in Sweden for quite a long time. My opinion started to change. The way I saw things started to change. And especially with what's happening in the US recently with the last election and seeing all the anger and seeing all these things building and brewing, I really felt that this was just a consequence of us not taking care of each other, of us having this me mentality and not thinking about the individual, not thinking about others. And for years, like in the States, like if you grew up in a poor neighborhood, you had a poor quality education in a lot of the times, in a lot of instances. So that really started to change me as well. I had no idea that YouTube was... I knew I was going to create YouTube content. I'm actually a musician, so I originally did a lot of music, and I just happened to find out that people were interested in Sweden because I talked about many different things, and then people started to ask me questions, and then there was like no one else doing this at the time. It was just me. I'm like 100% sure at this point. And so I did it. I started making content, and I guess in a weird way discovered this was even a thing. I didn't know that other people in other countries were doing this at the time either. I don't know when people started doing that. And I've started to, I guess, see some type of success. And I feel like I'm building a life here for myself in Sweden. And I'm very proud of that. And I couldn't do any of this without you guys watching me. It doesn't matter to me that if you just found my channel, like a week ago, or if you've been following me for years. I couldn't get to this point. I couldn't get myself sound equipment and be able to put money back into the channel without you guys. And I greatly appreciate it. And I just have to say, I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I just hope at some point I can build this into something successful and be able to give back to Sweden in some way through charity. One thing I really want to do is help out with animals here, cats, dogs. As you can see, I have 2 cats of my own. I would love to get involved. Love to get involved in some type of charity work in Sweden for kids, maybe helping them with sports. I mean, I have so many ideas, and I hope eventually I can give back to the community and give back to Sweden in some way what I have gained. I'm not perfect. I don't think I'm perfect at all, but I definitely feel that Sweden has helped me grow up, change. This has been an incredible journey. And I guess, I stayed in Sweden because I know my story's not done yet. I could go back to the States, and maybe I go back sometime, but I'm not done with my story. I'm not done with making my mark here in Sweden and making it. And when I say making it, it's not about money. It's not about being famous. I'm really like an introverted person. Like, I like to create content for you guys, but I'm not someone that likes to be around a ton of people. But it's fun to be creative and have you guys enjoy it. I never in a million years thought I would be here yet. I'm excited for the future, and I hope you guys are as well. And I hope that you will continue to give me a chance to make content, and I hope that there's a level of professionalism that lives up to it. So thank you for everything, guys. And I will see you in the next video. Hej då!